Today we're going to be testing out an idea that I sort of had that I want to implement on the 4th this year. So I'm kind of doing a small scale test run of this idea, and then if it works as I'm hoping, we'll be able to use it to make something just absolutely spectacular. So basically what I'm going to be trying to do is I have a firing system right here. Once again, shout out to Pyro Nation, aka Robert Weller, for getting this to me last year. So we have a firing system. I also have another one, but I'm going to be using this one in this video to do the test. So basically what we have here is a consumer Ematch. If you look at this, it's basically like a match, except it can be ignited using electricity. So we have 5 of these, 5 mortar tubes right here, and then we're going to take 5 of our ball shells, which we got right here. Which ones? We're just going to be doing ball shells because, I don't know, it's just kind of a small thing. I think these are all crackle. All the ones with the black, I believe that means it's crackle. Make sure to check out the video that I just did on how to package these ball shells and other shells, because in the shipping container there's a lot of empty space. So if you follow my instructions, you can save a lot of space and a lot of time. Click up there maybe if I have the video over there. So one of the questions that you may be asking if you're not a very advanced pyro is, or if you don't even know what this is, a firing system. Basically you have a remote controller, push a button, it has an electrical current which then lights the fuse. This is a Falcon 2 igniter, I believe. It's got a teeny tiny piece of wire that goes in here, and then when that gets electricity through it, it gets really hot and then starts the flame. These are great, but if the fuse time here is different for every shell, it's just slightly off. So this is what they use in like the professional displays, except this is a consumer version of that. This goes directly into the lift charge, so then basically all of these are going to blow up at the same time. The only space there is room for air is the little slow fuse that goes from the lift charge to the brake. So that's the only room for air, because I think sometimes that fuse is different lengths, but it's going to be a lot more accurate than the way that these are like this. Let's get to the work. Last thing before I show you how to, I guess, install this, you may be wondering, these are a foot long and the mortars are a foot long. How are you going to be able to do that? That's where this comes in. Instead of having your firing system sitting right on top here, you just take this pyro wire, scab wire, wire, whatever, and then hook it up, so then you only have to press one cue and they'll all go at the same time. I'll show you how to do that right now. This is one of the most delicate parts. You want to spend the most time on this and be very delicate. I do have some water here. If something were to go wrong, you're going to basically just pull out the fuse. Most of them aren't difficult to pull out like that. It was just sitting in there. So we're going to gently take this off. You can save this to do some of your fun activities later if you want. So we're going to save this and do the same for the rest of the ones that you're going to do. Alright, so we've taken the fuses out of all of them. Make sure to leave the little string at the top. We're going to be using that. So now each one should have a little hole where the string just came out. And basically, that's where we're going to put our little Ematch in there. So as soon as it gets the electrical charge, they're all going to go at the same time. In theory, that's why we're testing this out. We don't know. So now you also want to be very careful for this next part. I know some people use something like this. It's called a pyro poke, something like that. It's a brass sort of poker to make it a larger size for it to be easier. I think these are all going to be the exact right size, so we're not going to need a poking thing. But if you're wondering what this is for, it's for this activity that we're doing right now. If you need to cut anything, like the wires or fuse or anything, you want to use something like this, where it just snips it, not scissors, because scissors could create some sort of a spark, and that wouldn't be good. Alright, so we're going to feed. You're going to take off the little cover piece, and then feed it through the string at the top, and then put it in the little hole. Actually, we may need the pyro poke. So now the little Ematch piece is now sitting like in the black powder charge, and we can just leave that right there. Now this is basically like your ball shell. You still want to be careful, but it's just like it was with the fuse. You're going to drop it into the mortar tube nice and carefully. So it's kind of just like a that is not very tight. These tubes here are too big. It's interesting. They're not sitting correctly. May have to do a poor man's rack just to be safe. These are like 2-inch tubes, and these are like 1.5 or 1.5. So we're actually gonna have to use a poor man's rack because these are too big. I thought this would work, but it's too big. Why don't we finish this up and then I'll build the poor man's rack for you. Alright, so this is kind of my idea here. We've got the 5 tubes. The center one is going to be basically flat, and then the other 2 are going to sort of V out, so it's shooting out. It's sort of like a fan effect instead of all up straight. I've got some screws right here, so I'm going to screw this all down, and then I'll come back to you when we're done. Alright, so here is our fully completed poor man's rack. If you're not familiar with the term poor man's rack, basically you just take all the mortar tubes that come with the kits, with your ball shells and other shells and all that stuff, and then like put it together to make a rack. Whereas the other one that we have that is too large is what you would call a normal rack with very high quality tubes. They're HDPE. These are cardboard, so this is not going to last as long, but we don't have the right tubes, so this is what we have to do. Alright, so now I'm going to basically feed these in here. They are now the right size, so it's going to be all good. You never want to look down the tube, remember? But you got that nice thump. You can hear it goes down to the bottom. So we're going to throw all these in here. I'm really happy with how this poor man's rack turned out. It looks really nice, and then you just put a brick or something. If I wanted, I could put some legs on the bottom to prevent it from tipping this way, but it's really sturdy. Right, so now is the time when we decide what we're gonna do with this wire here. So I'm thinking we have everything feed into one queue. I don't know if it's going to be powerful enough to light all these. I think it is, because it's just 5. So we're gonna have all the wires come down to just one queue that then plugs in to the firing system. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. I have an idea. We just gotta get into it. You want to make sure that you split these wires here. I didn't mention that before. But you basically want to make sure that there's plastic in between each of the parts, so there's no chance of the wires touching, because then it would not work. To attach all of the different wires together, we're going to be using this red electrical tape. Hopefully that should stay very well. Alright, so now this is basically the final product. We are now done and ready to light it. I tucked in the extra cable over here. Let me turn it around so you can see what this all looks like. Basically, you're just making closed circuits around every single firework here. So that's basically what you do, and then you have it all go to one main line, and then that comes out over here, and then you run this to your firing system, and boom. So basically, is this really practical? No, on a large scale, because this took a lot of work, whereas you could just use the fuses and it's close enough. So do you really need to do this? No, but if you want to get them all to just boom at the same time, this is how you could do that using consumer Ematches and just some basic electrical work. So now we have to wait for the sun to go down, and then I'll get back to you guys at the shoot site when we're about to blow this up. See you then. Alright, so we've got it all set up here. Let's check out the firing system. And you can see that we have continuity because those two lights are brighter than the other ones. So we are good to go. So as soon as I press this, it should go.